Hi everybody, here's Christian and this is Lazy Devs. I'm a lazy dev, you're a lazy dev, that's why we're here. Welcome to our Pico-8 tutorial, our Breakout. Right, so if you did the exercise at the end of the last episode, if you did the fading for the game over screen, we did a little bit of a change, and I wanted to keep you up to date what we changed. So what we noticed is because of the peculiar way in which the game over screen is drawn, it's kind of like a sash that is drawn on top of that whatever was already there. Because of that, when we faded the screen, it only faded the sash, but it didn't draw the stuff that was already there. So what we did is we changed a little bit how the fading works. Remember fade the screen? This little stuff used to be at the beginning of the draw function. Now it's at the end of the function, which is weird, right? Because it used to be that the fading changed the palette, so everything that you add to the screen will appear darker. Well, we also changed the fading. So the fading was really just like a tiny little change here at the bottom of the fading function. At the bottom of the fade pal function, there is the pal function, the command where actually the palette is changed, where colors get darker, and we put a (1) at the end. And that (1) indicates that this is not applied to new stuff that is drawn, but actually that stuff is already existing on the screen. And so if we do this, and if you do it at the end of the draw function, everything gets darker as well, but also it applies to stuff that was already drawn before. Just a little bit of a change, just to give you an idea what happened here. So this starts as it should. Maybe the pop in after the fade out is a bit jarring. Maybe we need a fade in as well. And then if you press a button here, everything fades out. Maybe, so I had two ideas of what to do today. And we might start with particles, but actually, you know what? Let's not start with particles. Let's do something else instead. Because if we do make a short episode where I want the text blinking is already done. Why is it? I wonder why. Wait a minute. Okay. Just making sure that I'm not editing the wrong one. Okay, text blinking is done. The next thing that is on our to-do list is the arrow animation. And what arrow animation, what I mean is, I don't like how the arrow, that little thing down there, how it looks, and also how it's like very static and it doesn't seem to be doing anything, doesn't seem alive. So I want to just move it. Just make it blink, so to make it shake a little bit. It's just a tiny little detail, very easy to make. So I want to do this, and maybe also the fading in, because if you see if the game is over, it fades out, and it would be nice if it would fade in again, right? Okay, so let's do this. How are we going to do this? So actually, what I could do is a bit of a cheat, but basically, so we're just not gonna reset after the game over. We're not gonna reset the darkness, and then we're gonna have a little bit of function at the beginning of our game function that fades in the game. So let us do the fade in first. Where is it? Update 60. Yeah, that's good. So an update game. Let's go to update game. Let's make a little thing here, fade in game. If fade perk, so 0 was all faded in, is not equals. That's what we learned. This one's tilde equals 0, then end, and then fade perk equals minus equals 0.05 or something like this, right? And then if fade perk is smaller than 0, then I'm gonna set it to 0, and then that's gonna be it. Yeah. Come on! Okay. So this will basically make sure that if the fading, if it's the game is out faded, it will fade the game back in. It will make sure that whatever, if the fade perk is not a 0, it will be reduced until it reaches 0 or drops below 0, and then it is reset at 0. That's it. And that happens in our update game function, which is great. Because so something I want to do is like, I think this is a really good choice here, because if we fade the game in, but you cannot control the game yet, that will feel very slow. You always have to wait for the game to fade in. But if you fade the game in, but you're already in control, that might be actually, that the game might feel more responsive this way. So all that we have left to do is when we update game start, we're not going to reset the fade perk to 0. We're not going to reset it to 0. So we're just going to start the game. So let's see how this works. See? It's great. Oh, that's really nice. I love it. So easy. Now we have to do the same thing with game over as well. So when we update game over, we're not going to reset the fade perk to 0. Let's try this. I think our looping doesn't quite work the way we want it to work. Or maybe it does. Oh, it does. Nice. Fades in, back in. That's good. That's good. That's what we wanted. I wanted to maybe tweak our blinking. Maybe I'm gonna make the 6 a little bit longer. So we can add a copy of the 6 in here, and that will make the gray stay on the screen longer. Let's see how this works. Now it seems really stuttery. Let's not do this. It's fine. It's good. I'm over it. Good, good, good. Right, the arrow animation now. Where are we drawing the arrow? How are we doing this? I want to see the draw function. I want to see how we're doing this. Now this is the line. So we're gonna take the yeah, it's between 4 and 6. So actually we can use a similar approach that we used when we did the first version of the blinking. Remember we did the first version of the blinking? I think we can use a very similar approach here. This will be going to be hard-coded. So I'm going to edit here. Arrow mult. Oops. What is this? Mult. We're going to edit to 1. Is that a good idea? Let's try it. Let's just see how this works. So we have a arrow mult, means arrow multiplicator. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna add the multiplicator to the 4. The 4 is, yeah, arrow mult. And this 4 and the 6 and this 6. Now this turned into a crazy long line, but maybe it will be easier. Not even one of the statements doesn't fully fit into this. Oh, this is horrible. We can do it like this. Let's separate this into individual lines so we can see it a little better. So this is basically the starting point of the arrow, and this is the ending point of the arrow. And we just added the, let's just not call it arrow, let's call it arm alt. Arm alt. So it's a bit just too, maybe let's call it arm, whatever. Arm. Okay, so we're multiplying the 4 that we had. The 4 is basically we're taking the speed of the ball, the speed that the ball will fly at. We multiply it by 4, and that's where we start drawing our arrow. And then we take also the speed by times 6, and that's where we stop drawing the arrow. So we're kind of like taking the speed of the ball, and depending on the speed of the ball, we're drawing the arrow. That's how we're getting the preview of where the ball will be flying to. And so what we just did now is we multiplied these two, the 4 and the 6, like these two numbers, these two numbers that kind of take the speed of our ball and place the arrow depending on them. We multiply it by a number. Now it's 1, so nothing changes. But if we change this number from 1 to, let's say, 2, then the arrow, the amber arrow should appear 2 times as far away and be 2 times as long. Maybe we don't want it to be 2 times as long, but we're gonna see how this looks. So now if we just animate our ARM, our arm, then the arrow will be also animated, and that's my point. Okay. So how about we're gonna actually do this in the blinking function, because it's kind of like blinking. So I would maybe just do it together with the blinking. So if arm equals 1, then else end. So if it's 1, then change it to 1.5, and otherwise change it back to 1. It is my idea. Again, this is kind of like the first way of doing blinking that we had at the beginning before we did these arrays. Now for this one, I don't want to do an array because it's not like it's going to be changing to very specific values. It will just like, you know, move between 2 values. We could maybe think about doing like a smooth animation there, but it's just 1 pixel, so it doesn't really pay off to do like a smooth animation. Let's see how this will look. See, it's changing. It's changing a bit too dramatically. So let's make it a little bit. Let's make it a little bit less dramatic. So let's select 1.2. Let's see how this works. So now, see, now I don't like how it's like jumping. That's because we have like a point value in here. Let's make the ball. Oh, game over, right? Yeah, it's jumpy. Let's experiment with some values here. Maybe we're gonna get a good one. Oof, no. Do not like this. Do not like this one single bit. Oof, is that horrible? What about 1.27? It should be easy, right? It's 1.2. Just jumping up and down. It's not good. So there's like some rounding issues that we're having here, and that's why it's not behaving the way you want it to behave. Like depending on where, and like this look for a second, sometimes depending on where we are with our pets. So now, see, this looks nice. This looks really nice. But this, ugh. Not sure how to deal with this problem. Okay, so let's think about how else we can approach this issue. Maybe instead of drawing like an arrow, we can make like dots go out. Kind of like a, like a preview, like there's dots are like shooting out. That would be maybe easier. Yeah, let's do a dot. Right, but that means we have to do this a little bit differently. Okay, we're gonna do dots. So this means we're gonna change the way we're drawing things. So instead of the line, we're gonna keep the line around, but we're gonna quote it out. So what we do instead is we're gonna do a p set. P set is pixel set. We're gonna setting a pixel, and then we're gonna go here. Like this. It's basically just setting a certain pixel, and we're setting it again like with a line drawing. We set it basically at the starting of our line, but then we'll also multiply it by arm, and so we're going to use the arm to move the pixel away from the ball. So let's see how this works. Oh yeah, by the way, we also have to set a color for it, right? Where's the color? What color is it? Was it 10? 10, yeah. No, that's not what I wanted. Oh yeah, right. Because of course, I'm silly. We need an X and a Y, obviously. Duh. Ugh. Look at what a silly goose I am. Okay, there. That's it. That's it. That's the right one. And then 10 is the color. Okay, so here's our little thing. It's not moving though. It will move. Oh, I deleted it already. Okay, so we want now the yeah. Okay, so now we want the arm thing to get increased until it reaches a certain number, and then decrease it again. So let's do a separate counter for this. Arm counter equals 0. So we're gonna do arm counter, or let's call it arm frame. A frame counter for our arm animation. So we're actually separating the blinking from each other, simply because I don't want to touch the other one if I'm gonna do some messing around. So let's see how this will work. We're gonna do arm frame. If arm frame reaches, let's say 60, then end. Arm frame is 0. Let me put this at the bottom of this, because this is going to be text blinking. And this is going to be arrow animation. Okay. Right, and then arm equals 0. Okay, so no, actually arm is gonna be 1 plus 1 times arm frame divided by 60. That's why I wanted them to be separate, so I can tweak around with the timing and maths of this. So we're basically taking whatever arm frame is, we're dividing it through 60, so we're seeing how much we are progressing in our frame counting, how close we're getting to 60. The closer it gets to 60, the closer it gets to 1, basically. Like we're changing the 60 into 1, basically. So it goes from 0 to 1, and we're multiplying this by 1, and we're adding it to our 1. So it goes now between 1 and 2. So the animation will be, the arm will be equal to start at 1 and will slowly approach 2. And then if it approaches 2, sets back to 1. Like this. I want to change this into arm frame. So let's see how this will look like. See, that seems, because we're no longer drawing a line, the animation looks a lot smoother now. Something I want to do is I want to maybe make this a bit faster. It's good, it's good. It's what we wanted. Made it even faster. See? And now something is moving on the screen, and now you immediately feel like this game is more alive. So like, oh, okay, so there's like this little dot flying around. So like, oh, ooh, oh, okay. That's good. We need an explosion. I need to figure out how to make an explosion sound. I love it. I love it. It's good. Maybe 2 points would be good. How to make 2 points? How would we make 2 points? What would be a good way to make 2 points? A way that is mathematically easy to pull off. That's the problem here, of course. Let me try this. So we go AF2 equals, we're going to create a new variable called AF2. We're going to make it rFrame plus 7. And if our frame of AF2 is greater than 15, then AF2 equals AF2 minus 15. It's my solution for this. Let's see how this works. And then we're going to have an arm2. Like this. A bit of a mess. So we basically created a second variable that is offset by 7 pixels, by 7 frames. And we're adding seven frames to our frame counter. And then we loop it back around if we over 15 over our limit, and then we create like a second variable arm2, and I'm gonna put it at 1, and use the same function that we created arm to devise the multiplicator from the amount of frames we have. A bit of a complicated thing, but it's actually just, I want to just create a second dot there. Let's see here if this will work. And you know, this is hard coded. We're not doing any special jokes here. Okay, now it's too chaotic. So maybe if we now have to slow it down a little bit, so let's just go with 30 now. Now we have to change it to 30 to everywhere. Oh no! No, it's not good, right? Oh, this should be now 15. Okay, that's something I like. Maybe now we're gonna actually make them extend even further out. So how about this? I like this. This is really good. This gives me even better feel for which direction the ball will go. It's good. Oh, is this good? Oh yeah, I wanted to maybe capture. That's right. I want to capture a sticky ball, so we can see if this will work with different angles as well. Is that a sticky ball? Oh, yes. Okay, good. Works as well. Nice. Okay, this works. So if you guys want to step me through this real quick. So again, we have a frame counter that is the same way we had it with blinking, where we're counting from 0 to 30, and then if we reach 30, we go back to 0. And then we have this mathematical expression here that basically takes this number that starts with this 1 and the maximum is 0 and kind of compresses it down to a 1. And we add it to a 1, so it's kind of like a number that oscillates between 1 and 2. It starts with 1 to 1.1, 1 to 1.2, 1.3, and so forth until it reaches 2, and then it goes back to 1. And this becomes kind of like a number that we plug in down the line in our draw game function to draw kind of the dot along the path that the ball will be flying at. And then for the second dot, we hard coded basically like just a second. We devise a second variable that is offset from the first frame counter by 15. We add 15 to the first counter, and then sometimes we will be over 30. So in these cases, we just loop it back down to subtract 30 from the second counter, and then we use the same function that we had for our first variable to devise the second variable, and that's what we use to draw the second dot here. Easy. I'm gonna actually do it like some notes here. Draw preview trajectory preview dots. And now no longer, that's not no arrow, so trajectory preview anim. Okay, second dot. Easy. Well, not easy. And this is a bit of a mess, but that's fine because we're not going to touch it afterwards. It's going to be just like this very bespoke, specific animation, and we're not going to use the system for anything else. If you are using a system that is going to be used for a lot of other things, then you want to be like really nice and structured and have a system in place that can be reused. But for one-off thing like here, that doesn't make any difference. Okay. Next episode is where it really kicks off, because on the next episode we are going to do particles, and this is going to be awesome. See you next time around, guys. Bye bye.